So thinking about the corrections we need to make in terms of this topic work, climate change. First one, let's make sure we've got a really good glossary with all the keywords defined. So you can see here most of them: weather, climate, climatologist, glacials, interglacials, really important. And then the different causes, so the sunspots, Milankovitch cycles, ecosystem extinction, those sort of words, really important. We started off talking a little bit about the fact that there's a direct correlation between CO2 and temperature. The more CO2, the more temperature, so we did that. Then we had to think a little bit about what the different evidence of climate change was, and you did a spider diagram like this. The big thing that I want people to develop is, you can use the QR code here, be specific about how it tells us. So examples would be tree rings. The wider the tree rings, tells us that it was warmer and wetter. Historical photos, if we look back and, well, drawings, if we look back and we see a picture of the Thames frozen, it tells us that it was colder. Ice core records, if there are thicker years, it tells us there was more snow. So be really specific. You should have underneath that a little paragraph describing, and I'd like to see that as well. Oh, U-shaped valleys, really good. If we see the U-shaped valleys, it means there must have been glaciers in the area. If there were glaciers, it means it must have been colder. So that's the sort of thing about being more specific. Make sure you develop your little paragraphs where you've started to describe things. So lots of people have done like a mind map or something, but then they've started their description, the sort of thing you need to do in the exam and explanation, but they need to develop those. A little bit on the Little Ice Age, so we need to know really the causes of the Little Ice Age, and we can talk about their next unit, but then we need to know about the Vikings in Greenland and how basically they went there and it was nice, and then they didn't adapt very well and they didn't really survive. You might also want to talk about the UK. Key thing here is the different theories. So we've got the eruption theory, we've got sunspots, we've got asteroid theory, and we've got the Milankovitch cycles. What really needs to happen here is people need to develop their explanation, and again be really clear about how changing these will affect the temperature. So sunspots, more sunspots means that it will be warmer. If we take the asteroid theory, if there was an asteroid, it would cause the big ash dust cloud and it would make it colder. Orbital theory, when the world is on a more elliptical orbit, it will be colder and we will have more likely to have an ice age. The QR code gives me explaining it there as well. We then talked a little bit about how it affects ecosystems, and we need to make sure that you've got that. Again, you can look at the textbook if you're not too sure about that. We talked about global warming. What I really need with global warming is a nice explanation. So we should be saying really that we have that human activity producing greenhouse gases like methane from farming or carbon dioxide from burning fossil fuels causes rise up into the atmosphere. This then traps more solar radiation. We need to use that word solar radiation. So because more solar radiation is trapped, the temperature goes up. You might want to call this the enhanced greenhouse effect and compare it to the normal greenhouse effect. The key is more greenhouse gases enhance the greenhouse effect, meaning more solar radiation is trapped and the temperature goes up. So please make sure that you've got an explanation of that as well. We then need to talk about global warming and how it's going to affect different places, specifically the UK, and we need to talk about essentially it getting warmer, the fact that it's getting wetter, and there's going to be more extreme weather. You might want to look at the textbook too and see how it's going to vary slightly between the north and south and the east and the west, so develop your ideas there. And then we go on to the lesson where we looked at the different air masses. We talked about the polar front. When it's further if it's further north, it'll be warmer. If it's further south, it'll be colder. Where the polar front is, we get lots of rain, so that will possibly make more sort of extreme weather. We talked about the North Atlantic drift coming in here, warming the country, and if we lost that, that might be a problem. And then you should have your little table like here. How has climate change affect the UK? This is based on the lesson, and we need to say what will happen in terms of getting warmer, wetter, colder, and more extreme. What are the positive impacts and the negative? So really make sure that you have done that. The little post-it notes here indicate the areas that you need to develop. You should have 2 pieces of homework. These will have some comments. It's a QR code on the most recent one for you to develop that, and then there's this one as well, so make sure you've got that. In addition, I've seen a lot of people's works. We've got the revision booklet that you started. I'd like you to complete that if you've not already finished and make sure that it's stuck in. If you look at the front of the book, the correction sheet QR code is there, and that will take you to this video.